Hey guys, here is your first screencast for the Edgar Allan Poe project. Now I know you guys are working on a bunch of different things, but the first thing I want to talk about is your Edgar Allan Poe presentation. It's one of the major culminating activities that you're going to see with Poe, and it's going to give you a chance to compare and contrast some of the different stories that you read. Now you've all read at least one story, and we as a class read the Raven together. Now as an individual, you're going to be responsible for reading one more additional story. You're going to take all three of those stories, you're going to compare them together, and you're going to come away with some similarities and differences based on what you're assigned. Now you're working as a group, but you have individual responsibilities. You will be graded individually, but as a group you're going to be showing all of your pieces together at one time. One of the first things that you need to do is you need to go to My Computer. You guys have the updated screen page, so mine is from last year. So My Computer for you guys is going to be underneath the Start menu, which is the Windows menu, and for me it's all the way up here. You're looking for the graphics drive. Now the graphics drive you guys might have used before in 7th grade or earlier this year with us, but the graphics drive is the shared drive between the students and the teachers. Anybody can have access to the graphics drive. The only difference is you guys can't save anything onto the graphics drive. You can only view things on the graphics drive. So you are looking for Robinson and Miley. Okay, and once you find Robinson and Miley, the first thing I want you to look for is PowerPoint tips. All right, most of you have made PowerPoints before in other classes, but just as a reminder and a refresher, since this is the first one you're making in here, you want to take a look and go through all the different PowerPoint tips that we have. Right? I mean, there's nothing really new or different that you haven't seen in here before, but it is always good to go back and see what makes an effective PowerPoint slide, how to use transitions, when to use transitions, what should be consistent with each slide, and making sure that you use the proper font that's readable, because one of the things that you get graded on is your presentation and how readable the font is. I'm not really worried about color schemes. I mean, most of you have a pretty good eye for that, but I am worried about like pictures and images, because that's one of the things that you need to include, making sure that you have images and pictures that fit into the PowerPoint itself. Okay, after you're done reading your PowerPoint tips, you can get rid of that, and if you need a refresher on sounds for the PowerPoint, you can pull that file open. I'm not going to go through this one, I just wanted to show you where it was. The sounds for the PowerPoint is pretty easy. You guys know how to use the recorder. You don't even need to go into the Windows Media Player anymore, but you can pull sound effects and music, put them onto the slides. You will get additional points for it, and it will help improve your grade. The next thing that you're going to do is, after you have taken a look at your tips and your sounds for your PowerPoint, you're going to go into our Edgar Allan Poe folder. Okay, once you're in the Edgar Allan Poe folder, you are going to go to the Poe PowerPoint. And once you're in the Poe PowerPoint, you're going to see that there's 5 separate sections to the project. There's one section for characters, there's one section for plot, there's one for theme, there's one for elements of Gothic genre, and there's one for setting. Now we've spent a lot of time talking about all 5 of these things. Okay, many of the themes are common throughout all of Poe's literature. Elements of Gothic genre, what makes it Gothic, we've talked about that extensively. The settings obviously are different, the characters are different, and the plots are all different. But you still have a pretty solid understanding about it. Like I said at the beginning of this screencast, that you guys were going to be responsible for reading a second story. Now that second story, you're not really going to have much of a choice. The only people that are going to have a choice are the people that read Cask of Amontillado. If you read Cask of Amontillado, you can read either the Black Cat or the other story, the Telltale Heart. Now, if you read Telltale Heart, you're going to be reading the Black Cat. If you read the Black Cat, you're going to be reading the Telltale Heart. You're not going to have a choice to read Cask of Amontillado. Right? Only the people that read Cask of Amontillado last week are the only ones that will read it and move on with it. First thing you want to do after we start working on the PowerPoints is we want to save a copy of it into our network folder. Now, one of the problems we've had with the netbooks is that things have been just kicking you off for no reason at all. So if we are responsible for the plot, the first thing we're going to do is open up the plot, and we go to File, Save As. And we go into our network folder. We make sure we don't try to save it onto the graphics drive. We make sure we go into My Documents, and we save it under Poe Plot Presentation. Okay, so we would go in there, we would save that. And then we would take a look at what we actually have to do. If you notice, the slides are already set up for you. The first slide would be the Black Cat slide, if you read the Black Cat. The second slide would be your Telltale Heart slide, which if you read the Black Cat, you'll be reading the Telltale Heart. And the third slide, it says here, it says Cask of Amontillado, which you have not read, or you might not have read, and you would just change that to the Raven. Right? So all in all, each person is going to have 3 stories that they're going to be responsible for. So if we go back to the beginning, the Black Cat is going to have rising action, climax, falling action when we're just talking about the plot. And remember, all the themes, characters, elements of Gothic genre, that's all covered by other people that are in your group. So all you're responsible for is coming up with the plot points. So we would just need the plot diagram that you worked on, or the one that you will be completing for your new story, and you're just filling in those blanks. Now if you look at the bottom of the screen, this is where you can be creative and you can add your own things. You would add clip art, music, and a background. You would obviously erase this as you add each one. So as soon as I found some clip art, if I go to the Black Cat, I go onto Google. Right, let's go on to Google real quick. We'll go to images. We'll go scary Black Cat. Well, this guy looks scary enough. Let's go scary Black Cat, one eye. See if we can find that. I don't see much with the one eye. I was kind of hoping somebody had a mention of the Poe one, but they don't. No big deal. Let's go back to scary Black Cat. This guy looks scary enough. We're going to right click, copy image. Oh, I didn't copy that. We'll get rid of this. Minimize that. Go back to my PowerPoint. And then we'll download the image. It's taking a second to download on mine, but you have an understanding. You're going to download music, clip art, and a background. So once I have my clip art, which is the Black Cat, I would erase that. I would erase the ad. And then as I finished each one, I would erase that from the plot. So when you go to make your final presentation, you're not going to have any of these things on here. They would be all erased, and you would just have all the information on your slide. Same thing. You're going to go to Telltale Heart, your rising action, climax, falling action. You're going to have the same parts of the PowerPoint, your clip art, your background, your music. Finally, you're going to get to your similarities and differences. This is where you're going to compare the two. You're going to compare actually all 3, the Raven to the Black Cat, to Telltale Heart or Cask of Amontillado. And then your differences, the things that you see between them that are different. Okay, again, to get full points, and if you're confused about what you need to add to that slide, this is where we put the rubric on the page. Double click on the rubric, and the rubric will give you an explanation of how you can get maximum points. You notice they go through visual appearance, they go through mechanics, that talks about structure of the slide, making sure you're spelling, capitalization, punctuation. Effects and transition, that's making sure you have the sound effects on each slide, that you have the pictures, if you're going to have them transition in, that you understand how to do that. The objectives, having at least 3 or 4 differences, 3 or 4 similarities between each of the stories. And organization and presentation skills. The presentation skills I wouldn't worry about as of yet. We're going to tell you you're either going to screencast it or you're going to stand in front of the room and present it. We're going to see which way is easier. And that's the very last thing that you're going to have to worry about. If you have any questions or comments about the rubric, it's something that you can ask Mrs. Robinson or myself. We'll be more than happy to help you. The thing that I would try to remember, especially with the slides of the presentation stuff themselves, is that you can add slides. Right? If you feel like you're not getting enough information in on a slide, you can add something. Right? And we can always move that stuff around. You guys know how to use PowerPoint pretty well, so I'm not really worried about that. Oh, I did that wrong. And then you can go on to add things to that slide. Again, this is one of those major projects that you can get a good grade on because it's easy. You've done 1,000,000 PowerPoints. It's probably one of the last PowerPoints you're going to do here in middle school. And moving forward with Edgar Allan Poe, it's very simple and easy to go through all the different things. Now, if there's people in your group, there's not enough people in your group to go through each of the subjects, we'll just help you guys assign them. There's some of the things are easier than others. Characters is probably pretty easy. We can launch 2 people. Person doing characters can also do plot. Person doing setting can do characters. But we need to cover all 5 of them among the people in your group. Questions or concerns, make sure you come to Mrs. Robinson or myself, and good luck.